Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sara Gonzales. Glenn Beck, what was the top story for you today?
Jesus was a Palestinian, according to the New York Times.
All right, Stu.
Joe Biden is running for president, except when he's not, and now he is again, and now he's not again.
Okay.
But he will soon, but we're not sure.
He's a quantum candidate.
Yes, he is.
He's a quantum president.
When you observe him, he's running. When you stop observing him,
Sometimes he's a wave, sometimes he's a particle.
that's right.
Elizabeth Warren came up with another thing to irritate me with.
Oh, well, she's just going to be irritating you.
I suspect
now
so.
till kingdom
I
comes.
suspect that that's going to be a long thing.
Every day with that one. A lot to get into, but we want to thank our sponsor, American Financing. Glenn, I know you were a bit hesitant to work with them at first.
Yeah, American Financing. I wasn't working with them because I wasn't working with any mortgage company. In fact, this is the only mortgage company I still work with because I saw them in action during 2008 when everybody else was like, run for your lives. They were totally fine because they hadn't put anybody into loans that they couldn't afford. They were like, we asked for ID. We asked for a pay stub. But they work for you, and they really are very careful. In fact, I was just talking to the president of the company just a couple of weeks ago, and she said, oh my gosh, they have a woman running the place? Anyway, she said, sometimes it's hard because we have to say, don't take that loan. I know you really want that house, and I know we could give you the loan. Don't do it. Don't do it. They really try to be fiscally responsible, and they're good people. Family owned and operated. It's American Financing, and the number's at the bottom of the screen. You can go to americanfinancing.net.
Glenn, you said Jesus was a Palestinian, which is odd. I didn't think that would be possible as far as time.
No, timeline. Palestinians actually came into play about 700 years after Jesus died.
But just 700 years, though.
But that's it. Okay, so...
he was ahead of his time, that's all.
That's right. He was the first one. Look, it was a virgin birth. Mm-hmm. What, we're saying that God isn't Allah? Is that what we're saying here? Okay, so the writer for the New York Times said Jesus was unlikely white and likely Palestinian. As I grew older, I learned that the fair-skinned, blue-eyed depiction of Jesus that had for centuries adorned stained glass windows and altars in churches throughout the United States and Europe. But Jesus was born in Bethlehem, and most likely a Palestinian man with dark skin. Well, first of all, who looks at the blue-eyed blonde Jesus and goes, yep, that's what he looked like. He was the one. He was the one.
The Jesus of Iowa.
The Nordic, yeah, sure, I'll do that now, yeah. Who was this Nordic god Jesus? I don't think anybody over the age of 5 looks at those pictures and goes, yep. No, I'll fight you to the death. That's what Jesus looked like. Come on. Okay, but he's just figuring this out. He said, now, even though cultures across the world may at times show Jesus that reflect their own story, no. A white Jesus is still deeply embedded in the Western story of Christianity. It has become impossible to separate Jesus and white from the American psyche. These people are obsessed with race. They can't stop.
Literally something I've never thought of.
Never thought of. Well, he said,
you're white, though.
He said, I'm interested in how white Christians feel about images of Christ. Okay.
Worship the paintings.
As a white man, how do you feel about that? He's interested in knowing.
I'm reasonably neutral in all of that. He's probably, because the white's a social construct anyway. He's tan. Yeah. I bet he was tan in the desert, but it doesn't really affect me.
Right, I don't care. I'm sure.
He's 8%. He's 8% Carthaginian. Okay.
Right. I'll even go as far as saying I don't think. Who was the guy who played him? He's a friend of ours.
Jim Caviezel.
Jim Caviezel. I don't think he was as good looking as Jim Caviezel. Now, I could be wrong. He might have come out. He might have been, Tom Cruise. But I don't know. If you're the Son of God, do you also get good looks? I mean, because that's not fair.
I want to hear more
argue
about this theological good-looking scale you've got of Jim Caviezel to Tom Cruise. I want to know that XY axis.
I mean, that's just not, it's just not right. If you're Son of God, hey, I can walk on water and chicks dig me too. It's not right. So I've never really thought about his looks, and I don't really care. But he says, how do white people feel about the possibility that Christ, might not have looked the way he had been portrayed for centuries in the United States and Europe? That he might, the possibility that he might not. I can guarantee you he didn't look like that.
I mean, we didn't have cameras, so.
Right. If you've seen Christ depicted as a man of color, what was your reaction? Can anybody tell me the first time they saw Christ of another color?
Madonna's video. Wasn't Madonna in the video? Wasn't she like a prayer? Wasn't there I think that was a controversy at the time. Where she in the video, there was a guy portraying Jesus that was black, and that was like a minor controversy.
I think sometimes I could be wrong, but I think sometimes Ethiopian Orthodox iconography has him as black, and I'm like, oh, cool, look at that.
Have you ever been down? Have you ever been down to Mexico? Mexico, a brown Jesus.
Yes.
You know, lots of brown Jesus. It's spookily green Jesus too sometimes. Yeah, it's like
seen
it's
the
really
green one.
it gets really spooky in some places.
I want to hear more about that. Green Jesus. That is interesting to me. If it was like, did you know he was green? I'm like, go on. Now I want to know.
Here's the thing. It's like these people walked into a freezer in like 62, and they're just coming out and go, and let me tell you something else about the South. And you're like, dude, where have you been? And let me tell you why Humphrey's not the guy. We got it. We got it. You know, it's these people are frozen in time. This guy, when he says, I'd really like to know, how did you feel when you first saw the first Jesus of another color? Nothing. I felt nothing. I don't care.
All right, it's not an interesting piece of the whole package. It's not the focus. No one's going to Jesus for his looks. That's not something that
remember
people
the
do.
first time you saw a black baby doll? I freaked out. No. And it's the same thing with baby dolls as it is with Jesus. Of course, he reflects the people. Didn't Andy Williams sing a song for Christmas like in the 60s? Some children see him, almond eyes, something like that. He was talking about, in the 60s, he was talking about how everybody sees Jesus as them. I don't care.
It really made me focus on his teachings. Like, I think it's a little bit more important.
Nobody focuses on that
But I
anymore.
mean, you're right, and then it's like, you talk about being captured in time. There's a part of me that just wants us to get captured in the time of like what Martin Luther King was actually saying,
yes.
right? Like, I wish there was a part of this whole this whole movement at this point that actually like thought about what his point is, and I think my understanding of the point is, again, judging people by the content of their character. Now we are. Like, the idea was to be colorblind, right? So that we wouldn't notice
That's
race.
the goal. We're supposed to be moving that direction.
But it's not the goal anymore, is it? I mean,
I went on a show about a couple of years ago, and I thought that was clearly we're all on the same page. That colorblind is good, and it was like, well, no, I said they were very nice. The show I was on, but they were like, but you're coming from a position of privilege, and that you can't not see race.
How did you not say shut up?
Well, they were my friends.
Okay.
Or are.
That may not
Then
be
that would be
productive.
even more reason to say shut up.
But it was like this weird, like, I don't think it's healthy at all to try and balkanize people into racial groups.
Yeah,
and I'll tell, like, and I don't mean to imply that these friends I was hanging out with in any way overlap with, say, Richard Spencer, but he would love for us to think of everything as racial. Richard Spencer would love for us to constantly be thinking.
David Duke, I would love that.
Of course,
Yeah, I mean,
of course.
Yeah, I mean, it really is that. It's to that level at this point.
You know, we're doing a special a week from tomorrow, right?
Yes.
On May Day. It's about socialism and a warning from the dead. And I was thinking this morning, we have to make certain points, and I thought, and this probably won't happen, but I thought, one way to make this point is, let's take two people and put them both in Nazi uniforms, and then have one person say the kind of thing that libertarians and constitutionalists say, okay? Like, I don't really have a problem with people of color, and I mean, good for you. Go out and
The gay
say
people going to take my pot? No, that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay.
Tell them to move into the neighborhood.
That's right. Okay, have that person say that. Then just take the quotes from people who are trying to divide us every step of the way, and say, no, Ben Shapiro should not speak here. We should shut him down. He has no place speaking. If they're both in Nazi uniforms, one will clearly be seen as like, oh yeah, that could be from a movie script. The other is like, it doesn't work when you're like, hey, I believe in freedom for everybody. That doesn't work with the image.
Can I please be neither of these people? Nazi uniform. I'm just going to go ahead and quietly back out of the room on that one.
Last word.
Can I give you one more Jesus point here for a second?
Please.
In his most potentially one of the top 2 or 3 most important moments of his entire life, this is how he was described. His face was so disfigured he seemed hardly human, and from his appearance one would scarcely know he was a man. In this moment, you couldn't even see his face. It was so destroyed. Like, this is what Easter was about last weekend, these Easter worshipers. I don't know if you've heard of them. But I mean, like, this is not a guy, this had nothing to do with skin color. Like, this has something to do with something a lot bigger than that. And the fact that people drag it down to that level is like...
Jesus never even talked about skin color. He never talked about it.
We would know what color he was if he was like, by the way, I want everyone to know my intersectional values are X, Y, and Z. That didn't happen.
I'm very white. Very, very white.
Stu, I want to move on to quantum Joe Biden.
Yes, Joe Biden. So Joe Biden it was announced last week, widely reported that he was going to announce Wednesday, which is tomorrow, if you happen to be listening to this on the day it was released. And he was going to make a big deal about it, and they weren't sure whether it was going to be, I think it was in Philadelphia or Charlottesville, which were where he was going to make this announcement. And it's been such a weird on and off thing. First, it looked like he was going to announce a couple months ago, and then that kind of faded away. He was going to do it again. Then he had the sort of, hey, I sniffed too much hair to announce my candidacy right now. Then finally we got past Easter. Everyone else that's big and in the field right now largely is in. There's a couple of others that may still join. And so then another story comes out today and says, again, it looks like tomorrow's announcement is off. Now it looks like they may push it to Thursday. They still don't know what city it's going to be in. There's something weird going on with this rollout, and I don't really understand it. Here's a quote from an unnamed Biden aide. Now, again, who knows who this person is, but I'll give it to you anyway.
It's Donald Trump. I know. I've never seen anything so half-assed.
They're improvising and doing last-minute planning. The guy has been running for president since 1987 and can't figure the basics out, like where to stand on his first day. This should make everyone very nervous. Now, look, this person could now be working for Kamala Harris, right? So we don't know who this person is. But it is interesting to see that it doesn't seem like he has any momentum in this rollout. We do expect it this week still, but I mean, no one really knows.
So can I say, look, if you're 93, how old is Joe?
72?
72. Okay, so whatever. So he's 72 years old, and he's the front runner. Mm-hmm. And the minute you throw your hat in the ring, your ass is in a meat grinder.
Yep.
Okay? He's the front runner. I'd be like, you know what? Nah, give it another week. Nothing's happened. I don't really have to get in. Give it another week.
Even after it's been leaked that you're going to announce on a particular day?
He didn't care.
It might just be he's waiting till he drops, and then he's like, announce now. And then he'll jump back up again.
I mean, why go into the race and make yourself a target? You do that at the last possible minute. As long as he still holds his number one position, why would you go in?
Well,
that's why I haven't announced my. Oh, never mind.
Oh boy.
The big answer to that could be fundraising, right? I mean, he does need to raise a lot of money. He's already $20 and $30 million behind some of these candidates. Well, I mean, Bernie did, I think, 18 last quarter. This is, though, a light time of the year for fundraising. This is probably going to be one of the least impactful quarters of this entire campaign because it's not really into primary time yet. It's not really into debate time yet. We're kind of still in that middle gray area. So it's possible that he just waits, and I don't think necessarily it's a bad idea. There's no better place to be than a person who's about to announce they're running for president. Like, no one really comes after you. You're kind of getting all the glory of it without having to do it.
So let me ask you this: what do you think the odds are? I don't think that Joe Biden or anybody in his team was watching our show. But it doesn't take a genius to figure out what we figured out about Joe Biden and put all that story together. My contention was that in the end, Joe Biden, he may not run just because he puts himself in a Paul Manafort position. He puts himself and his children in jeopardy. They've made millions of dollars. That money, that gravy train can go on and everybody's happy. But the minute he becomes the number one target, especially because the socialist radicals will not want him. Those socialist radicals, they will dig stuff up. They will attack him. He's got to defend it. Why? You're 72 years old, 71 years old. Why deal with all of that? You're happy. You've got power. You're the elder statesman. Your kids are happy and wealthy, and nobody's talking about going to jail.
You think he might not run?
I think he might not.
Really?
I agree. I mean, it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't do a lot of digging to find all of these things out.
No. Yeah. And the only thing that you can count on is arrogance, okay? Or the fact that what would make you a little bit more arrogant is the fact that everybody seems to be doing it in Washington. Everybody is enriching themselves, on the nation's treasure and credibility.
And I will say that's a good play, right? Like if you're the type of person who doesn't want to deal with this nonsense, you just stay out of it. I just don't know why you get so close to it. He's apparently like offered jobs to people. He's so close, and if you're going to stay out of that, and you want to be you don't want to be Paul Manafort, because Manafort gets away with this if he doesn't jump into the Trump campaign. I think I don't think he ever goes to prison for the things he did. Yeah. And here I think, why get so close? Why do all this legwork? Why not just say I'm out and just live your life?
Because power is intoxicating, and when you are the potential guy,
keeps leading every poll.
You're in the spotlight. People are courting you. Once he says no.
It's over.
It's over. Nobody cares about it anymore.
Yeah. All right. Back in a minute. Before we get into Pocahontas, I want to thank our sponsor, realestateagentsitrust.com. Glenn, I know you founded this company because apparently when you're in radio, you move a lot.
Move a lot. Yes. Move a lot. And you never know. I mean, I don't care how many times you've moved. You just don't figure it out.
Well, because you're moving to a whole new area. So how are you supposed to know?
And how do you know who the good real estate agent is, even in your area? And it's always just a crapshoot, and it's so stupid. And it's your biggest investment. It's like, just calling up an investment advisor and going, hey, will you invest some of my money in the stock market? That's a dumb way to do it. That's what realestateagentsitrust.com does for you. They say, no, you shouldn't say that to people. How about we help you find the right person that knows your area and is the best in your area, or is the right person for you in your new area? That's what we do, is we match you up with the right people. Realestateagentsitrust.com. They will sell your house for the most amount of money and as fast as anybody possibly can. They're the experts, and they'll help you buy in your next house, your forever house. Realestateagentsitrust.com.
All right, Andrew, you said Elizabeth Warren said something.
She's irritating me again. Elizabeth.
So she's breathing.
I got to say, I would like to like her because she's from my old neighborhood. We're both from Oklahoma, and that would be cool, but I get irritated by many things, but two of them are moral certitude, and one of the just temperamental qualities of her I don't like is that I've never seen her say anything nice about anybody that's not in her camp, with the exception of John McCain when he was dying. But other than that, and I don't like that. But then the other thing is I am very skeptical of government regulations. I'm very skeptical of giant government regulations and giant projects. And what she's doing right now, and I think she's very much in favor of giant government programs, but she's having to kind of pitch them at a higher level to try and break out of the pack right now. So this week she proposed a massive educational overhaul where we would forgive $1.25 trillion in student loans, and we would make all public college free. So the problem that I have with, I have sympathy for people that are overwhelmed by student loans, and I think that the U.S. government has screwed you over, and I think that we've really rigged the game against a lot of people going into college. So I have sympathy there. But my question for the progressive mindset of let's just fling money at this is, all right, college is really expensive. We're talking about public universities. We're not talking about some evil capitalist like me, Andrew Heaton, bilking people for money. We're talking about professors at Oklahoma State University or whatever. Why is that so expensive? Can we figure that out before we try and throw money at it? Now, my read on the situation is that there's a couple of factors going on here. The federal government goes, hey, we'll give you, I think it's $5,000 to $12,000 right now per year that you can use for whatever you want, regardless. And so colleges go, you should come to my university because we've got a water park. And then they have to increase the amount of tuition that happens at that university. And then the federal government steps in and goes, oh my God, tuition's higher. Well, we should give people more money. And it's just cycled around to where now public universities cost so much. Now, if you're a student going into that, you cannot declare bankruptcy, which I also think is bad. I would like students to treat themselves more like companies in two capacities. One, I think you should be able to declare bankruptcy, and that means that your credit rating's shot for a few years, but that does happen if you made a bad decision. But two, I'd much rather than the federal government just giving people money for career options that are terrible, I would rather the private sector do it.
Well, you know why the bankruptcy thing is bad? Because the college is not ever responsible for not giving you the right education to be able to go out in the world and make it. I mean, they're not incentivized. They can teach you all about social justice bullcrap the whole time. You walk out going, I know everything there is to know about social justice. Well, go ahead and hope you can eat and rest under that roof that social justice education can give you. And they're not connected to the real world.
I completely agree with you.
The minute you can default is the minute they go, okay, wait a minute.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, and that's where I would like I think Mitch Daniels, who's brilliant. I'm a big Mitch Daniels fan. One of the things that they do at his college, I think it's Indiana, I think, is they get
Purdue?
Yeah, I think it's Purdue in the state of Indiana. Anyway, one of the things that they do is they have the private sector kind of step in and go, hey, we have zero interest in loaning you money for me, a history degree. We've got plenty of history majors. However, we need more engineers. Would you like money for an engineering degree? Because we'll fund that. Because then there's actually a correlation with what the market will actually reward you for. And we're not doing that right now.
There's also a problem in this country of we got rid of apprenticeships. Apprenticeships, I would do apprenticeships all day long. I'd rather have that than take people out of the university. Show me what you've done. Show me what you can do. Let me give you an apprenticeship for a year, and let's see what you can do. I'll hire from apprenticeships. I mean, I know a lot of people would. Your company, you need somebody. Okay, good. Show me what you can do. Now, that's not every company. Some companies you have to have a college degree. But universities have made it so if you don't have a 4-year degree, you're not even considered. That's just the opening salvo. Well, that drives up the price because you have to have one. If I'm like, I don't really have to have that. Well, now they've got a captive audience because you have to have it. So they drive the price up there. They drive the price up because nobody's really responsible for the loan. Nobody's learning anything. And there's no direct correlation to what is actually needed for the future.
And you see this, I mean, when you look at all the different categories as far as inflation goes, the inflation and not only college tuition, but also books is among the highest percentage of any group. And the groups like cars and TVs and these other things that have nothing to do with the government, or at least shouldn't, they are all, they're going down. They're actually more or less expensive for people to afford.
I can buy books less expensive for our museum than I can in a college bookstore sometimes.
Yeah. It's incredible. All right, back in a minute.
Private sector theater.
Stu, did I hear correctly that you were on Andrew's podcast today?
I was.
We were buddies on my show today.
We were.
You were.
When am I on your podcast?
When am I on your podcast?
Okay, well now I feel all awkward. Come on my podcast?
Let's make this a great show about you guys. That's a good idea. When we were the ones doing it. No, let's definitely make it about
all we did was talk about you two.
Just saying, if you're going to invite somebody to a party, you invite everybody.
Well, you're going to be on to talk about the apocalypse with me, and I would love to do a two-parter with you if you'd come back.
There you go. The apocalypse.
I got climate change, so at least it's more interesting than what I had. Yes, we did an hour or something.
We did like a solid, and we had to pull the plug on it eventually.
We did. We ran out of time.
Well, you start Stu going on climate change.
See, I'm sorry.
It's good though, isn't it? He's good on climate change.
It was a good conversation. It was a really good
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
So you can find it wherever you get your podcast, Some Things Off with Andrew Heaton. You can also find it on Blaze TV. Yeah, today's episode. And you can use promo code NEWS, get $10 off of your annual subscription. We'll see you guys in overtime over at Blaze TV.